So many friends and just a few enemies. Now, that was US President Donald Trump delivering a much-anticipated speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos on Wednesday as global leaders and business executives braced for another round of his America First messaging. Now, addressing the gathering in Switzerland, Trump ruled out the use of military force in his bid to bring Greenland under US control. However, he doubled down on the strategic argument, insisting that no other country is capable of securing the Danish territory, reinforcing his administration's national security rationale. Listen in.
I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force.
In a more than an hour-long speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos, U.S. President Donald Trump ruled out the use of force in his attempt to control Greenland.
We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force, where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that.
Trump's increasing threats to Europe over Greenland, a semi-autonomous Danish territory, have frayed transatlantic ties and worried Europeans.
Big, beautiful piece of ice. It's hard to call it land. It's a big piece of ice.
Trump played down his desire to control Greenland as a small ask over a piece of ice and said Denmark was ungrateful.
So we want a piece of ice for world protection, and they won't give it.
Trump also appeared to mistakenly refer to Greenland a few times as Iceland.
They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
Trump said acquiring Greenland would be no threat to the NATO alliance. But its leaders have warned that his strategy to take control of the territory could upend it.
No nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States.
Trump is emboldened by his ousting of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and seizing control of that country's oil, which he touted in his speech.
Those 50 million barrels, we're going to be splitting up with them, and they'll be making more money than they've made in a long time. Venezuela's going to do fantastically well.
Trump, who had previously not ruled out the use of the U.S. military to seize Greenland, has been unrelenting in making his case for acquiring it as an Arctic guard post against Russia and China, and has threatened a trade war with Europeans who oppose him.
Thank you.
And disappointing his transatlantic allies yet again, US President Donald Trump on Wednesday said Europe is heading in the wrong direction, delivering sharp criticism during his speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Trump said much of the Western policies centered on green energy and mass migration have damaged Europe's economies, blaming them for what he called record budget and trade deficits. Listen in.
Friends come back from different places. I don't want to insult anybody and say I don't recognize it. And that's not in a positive way. That's in a very negative way. And I love Europe, and I want to see Europe go good. But it's not heading in the right direction. In recent decades, it became conventional wisdom in Washington and European capitals that the only way to grow a modern Western economy was through ever-increasing government spending, unchecked mass migration, and endless foreign imports. The consensus was that so-called dirty jobs and heavy industry should be sent elsewhere, that affordable energy should be replaced by the Green New Scam, and that countries could be propped up by importing new and entirely different populations from faraway lands. This was the path that Sleepy Joe Biden administration and many other Western governments very foolishly followed, turning their backs on everything that makes nations rich and powerful and strong.
And it wasn't just the sleepy Joe Biden remark. US President Donald Trump also took a swipe at Canada after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney described the current phase of global diplomacy as a rupture and urged so-called middle powers to act together. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Trump said Canada receives many freebies from the United States and should be grateful. He added that Carney's Davos remarks suggested he was not so grateful. Trump also used the moment to take a dig at French President Emmanuel Macron, extending his criticism of traditional U.S. allies as tensions simmer across the transatlantic relationship.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements. So when I called up Emmanuel Macron, I watched him yesterday with those beautiful sunglasses. What the hell happened?
And US President Donald Trump told business leaders at the World Economic Forum in Davos on Wednesday that the United States is doing really well, hailing what he called an exceptional start to his second term. Trump said his first year back in office may have been the best first year for any president, highlighting economic performance and investor confidence.
I think it's been reported by even people that aren't lovers of Donald Trump that it's been maybe the best first year for any president. I think in terms of what we've accomplished, it might very well be. But we've accomplished a lot, including ending 8 wars. So I think in terms of your investments, you're in great shape. I don't even ask anybody how you're doing now. It's like everybody is making so much money. Oh, look who I see, Tim. Hi, Tim Cook. He's been good for 650. Think of it, $650 billion. Okay, can you imagine? That's what he's going to be investing more than. And everybody's investing money in the United States, and our jobs are through the roof. And I made a statement the other day. Thank goodness for robots, because we're never going to have enough people to run all these places that are being built. And I think robots are actually going to be a very big business.
Now, the US president also said he believes the United States is reasonably close to reaching a deal to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. Speaking to reporters, Trump added that he was scheduled to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky later in the day, raising expectations of fresh diplomatic movement on the conflict. Listen in.
With Ukraine, Russia, there's tremendous hatred between President Zelensky and President Putin. That's not good. That's not good for settlements. We know from dealing, there's abnormal hatred. With that being said, I think Russia wants to make a deal. I think Ukraine wants to make a deal. And we're going to try getting a deal done.
And even as US President Donald Trump ramped up pressure on NATO during his Davos speech, questioning whether the alliance would come to America's aid in a time of need, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte moved quickly to offer reassurance. Rutte said there was an absolute guarantee that NATO allies would stand with the United States if it were ever attacked.
There's one thing I heard you say yesterday and today. You were not absolutely sure that the Europeans would come to the rescue of the US if you will be attacked. Let me tell you, they will. So you can be assured, absolutely, if ever the US will be under attack, your allies will be with you. Absolutely, there's an absolute guarantee.
Well, I hope that that's true. I mean, he's a good man. He's never lied to me before. You know, we've had a good relationship, and he made that statement. That's nice. I mean, I just, you know, when I see what's happening with Greenland, I wonder, because I want Greenland for security. I don't want it for anything else.
And US President Donald Trump on Wednesday also expressed confidence that Washington and New Delhi would strike a good trade deal, praising Prime Minister Modi as a fantastic leader and a great friend. Now, responding to a question raised by moneycontrol.com, Trump said he has great respect for Prime Minister Modi and signaled optimism about the direction of India-US trade talks. The comments come nearly 5 months after tariffs on Indian exports to the United States were raised to 50%, with half of that increase described by Trump as a penalty over India's purchase of Russian oil. Now, since then, uncertainty has lingered over whether and when a comprehensive trade agreement might be finalized.